Dead Challenge Duo Podcast, episode number 66. How are you doing, Alexander?
Doing pretty good, Andy. How are you?
Fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just fine.
Yeah, fine.
How's your week?
My 2 weeks, fine.
2 weeks. Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, so first, if you're new to the podcast, maybe you jumped on last week because of one of our special guests, or maybe all three of them. But if you are new, hope you stick around. But I appreciate Giraffe Neck Mark, Drake, and Jerome PKR for filling in for me last week. I literally could not find time for the podcast. I felt really bad about it. And it's actually, I think it's the first episode where one of us has not been on. I can't recall.
What did you think about that? It definitely was.
I feel like there was one episode where we had like Drake here, but it was all three of us, and for some reason I thought maybe I wasn't on that one. But yeah, like it was kind of weird not being part of it for a week, but I appreciate it. So thank you to those guys, and if you're here and you're new, hopefully you stick around. So getting right into our regular format here. Andy, what have you been watching? What have you been playing this week?
Minecraft.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
Best game ever made. Minecraft. As my
I can't
dog's
believe
barking
that
in the background.
I can't believe you actually play Minecraft.
Yeah, it's the greatest game ever made. What do you mean?
Okay, well there you go.
Zoo Tycoon. Another great game.
Wow.
Some Roblox. Okay, there might have been a night of drinking where I played a bunch of dumb games. Rocket League and Papa's Wingeria.
Well,
Second
Rocket
week of
League's pretty
Papa's
good.
Wingeria.
I don't even know what that
Watching?
is.
As my dogs bark in the background. Sex Education Season 2. And
Okay, well, this week I'll just start with what I've been playing because it's really simple. It's been Madden and World of Warcraft, and it hasn't been much of either one, but
not Warcraft 3 Reforged?
no, here's the thing. I'm not really a huge fan of RTS games anymore, and Warcraft was originally an RTS game. If I had to play an RTS, believe it or not, it would be StarCraft. I really got introduced into the Warcraft universe by World of Warcraft, even though I did play a good deal of the first two Warcraft games, but not really the third one. Didn't touch it very much. So I haven't been playing Warcraft 3, and I know there's a lot of controversy around that one. However, I will say World of Warcraft, the latest update, the 8.2 or 8.3 patch, the Rise of Zoth, I think is what they're calling it. It's not a full expansion, but it's a huge update, just like the Rise of Ashara. And now I realize that I don't have the right name for it, but it does have to do with the N'Zoth character, and it's really good. The storyline's good. It adds 2 new races to the game. There's a new area. It's a lot of fun. It's been great. And then Madden's been Madden. It's, I always play it when it's bad. I play it when it's good. Play when it's in between. And then watching this week, did get a chance over the last 2 weeks to watch a good deal of The Office on Netflix. I got fully caught up on Sabrina the Teenage Witch, the new one on Netflix. I've really become a fan of that series. Didn't expect that to happen, but I really liked the newest season. It was really good. It was a lot of fun to watch. I did check out Edward Scissorhands. I picked that up for, oh God, I think it was like $5.99 on Best Buy. And it had the Blu-ray and the digital copy. And I said, you know what, for $6, this will definitely be worth it. And I hadn't seen it since I was a kid, because it came out when I was a kid. My wife hadn't seen it since she was a kid. And we both really liked it quite a bit. It was really good. And then just a film club selection this week. And I think that's about it. I can't really recall watching any other movies at the moment, but yeah, it's been a busy couple weeks.
So you didn't watch The Lighthouse?
I did not watch The Lighthouse. Not yet. Because when I found out I wasn't going to be doing the podcast last week, I said I'll watch it with my wife. Because I figure that way I can watch it one time. Because I'm probably not going to want to rewatch it. I'm not a real big rewatch movies guy. I don't like to rewatch. I figure that time can be used to watch something new. Like, that's just kind of how I approach it. So I don't tend to rewatch films. And I said, I know if I watch it without her, she's going to want to watch it when I tell her how great it is. So I kind of skipped it. I mean, I'm kind of going through that with American History X. Like, I wanted her to watch it, and she couldn't or wouldn't or fell asleep or whatever, you know, because she wakes up really early, you know, so she falls asleep early. And we just didn't get a chance to watch it together. And I really want to watch it with her, but at the same time, I realize I have to rewatch it now. So, anyway, moving on to...
Did you watch DCD episode 65?
I watched portions. I didn't watch the whole thing. You know what? I hate to sound like an egotistical idiot right now, but part of me doesn't... I don't know how to describe this. I was afraid it would be better than a regular show, and I'd be like, oh man, what I regular input is pretty bad. So that's kind of why I didn't watch it. I'm weird like that.
Did you watch the Royal Rumble?
Oh yeah, I did watch the Royal Rumble. It was a really good card this year. They did a good job. They did a good job with the Royal Rumble.
What do you think about the first 14 entrances?
Didn't like it.
I didn't like it at first, but I felt like it made me care about the entrances. And typically, I don't really.
No, you're right. I mean, so my thing was this. If you're going to have Brock Lesnar, go out there. Spoiler alert, go WWE Network. You get a free month for free with a fake email address if you really want it. You could watch the whole thing, but if you're going to have Brock Lesnar go out there and run roughshod over everybody for 13 or 14 competitors or whatever it was, you have to make his elimination mean something from a storytelling standpoint, because that's what wrestling is. It's storytelling. And Drew McIntyre knocking him out, I said to Ashley when he knocked Lesnar out, I said they better have McIntyre win the whole thing. Otherwise, it doesn't mean anything. You basically threw 13 guys out of the ring. Some of them were pretty top guys. Like Ricochet was one that got just completely thrown out real quick.
Ricochet kicked him in the nuts.
Yeah, MVP came back, got thrown out like almost immediately by Lesnar. Shelton Benjamin got thrown out almost immediately by Lesnar. It was kind of rough to watch that, but if the guy who eliminates him goes on to win it means something from a storytelling perspective. And I think it really perfectly sets up a main event that they announced on Raw, where McIntyre is going to take on Lesnar at WrestleMania for the WWE title. Now, hopefully WWE goes through with it. They keep it a one-on-one match. They don't try to horn and shoe someone in and make it a triple threat. I think McIntyre can draw. He's got a great look. He's good on the mic. He's over like Rover right now. I think he's the perfect guy. To me, the Royal Rumble should be used to make a new star. I know Drew McIntyre has been a star on the Indies, and he has been in the WWE previously. And some people would say, well, he used to be an Intercontinental Champion. That was back when that belt meant nothing. They're making this guy a new main event star, and I like it. And I think that's the way you use the Royal Rumble, to make a new star or to get a guy who was a main event guy back to the main event like they did with Rollins last year. So overall, great card. Women's Royal Rumble was a real treat. Didn't like Charlotte winning, but, you know, it is what it is. And then there were some other good matches on there. The Edge return, as a longtime WWE fan, it was hard to not get a little emotional. You know how hard that guy worked to get back, and you feel so great for him. Like, you're just so, at one, you're happy to have him back, but two, you're like, good for that guy, because he literally thought he wasn't going to be able to end his career on his own terms. So that's
And he's
really
probably
good.
going to fight WrestleMania.
Yeah, and he looks great for 46. My goodness, I didn't realize he was 46. I thought he was a little bit younger than that, but he looks amazing for the age of 46. So great card. Lots of really good surprises. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania season, and I'm trying to prevent myself from buying tickets to WrestleMania because I've worked out my job thing real quick, just to give you guys an update on that. So I was working a really crappy job. I feel pretty confident now that I can say who it was. I was working at a Walmart in their warehouse, and it was awful, and I hated every day of it, and it was really bad. They don't respect you there. They don't pay you well there. It's a very unsafe working environment. I could do a whole podcast talking about all the stories and all the things that I saw that were just completely screwed up in this company. And if you work for Walmart, maybe that hasn't been your experience, but I literally did it for a paycheck, just so that I didn't burn through my savings and my severance pay from my previous job, which I'm not going to mention that either. And I'm not going to mention the present job, but I'm just going to say the new opportunity. It's right within my wheelhouse. It's nothing like what I was doing at Walmart. It's way more like what I was doing previously, and it pays me very well. I was in disbelief when I got the job offer, but it's a really good place to work. Day one benefits, all that. So things are looking up, and then things should be back to regular here on the podcast and on my channel. So looking forward to that. So
one last Star Trek Picard.
Oh yeah, I did watch the first episode of that. It was amazing.
I know more that you watched than you do.
Yeah, I totally forgot to mention that, but it was really good. I can't wait for the next episode, which I believe came out yesterday. I just haven't watched it yet. So I watched Raw last night. I'm a couple days behind, but yeah, Star Trek Picard is pretty good. I'm liking it. I'm digging it. Did you check it out?
No, but I've heard contrary to your belief.
Oh, whatever. Okay. So, on to listener questions. Andy, do you have any listener questions?
No, I didn't ask.
Okay. So, we did get one, and I don't have all of the notes here on this one, but I did want to make sure to answer this for... Oh, and it is something else that I watched this week, so apparently the listeners know too. But... at Reasons I'm Broke on Twitter, Daniel, you can find his podcast at reasonsimbroke.com.
Well, I didn't see it.
Oh, you didn't see it?
It makes sense, the reason why.
Okay. So he asked about the Aaron Hernandez documentary on Netflix. So I don't know if Andy has seen that. Have you checked that out yet?
No interest.
Okay. So I did watch it with my wife. And I was very, I guess what I would tell Daniel is I was really knowledgeable about that case and everything that was going on with it, because as a football fan, it was like one of the biggest stories in sports. So, you know, you kind of went down the rabbit hole, and you researched and researched and researched, and a lot of this stuff was public record, and the trial was public record. So you could go through it, and, I guess my summation would be the Netflix documentary. Even though I knew quite a bit about the subject matter, I learned a lot of new things that I didn't know before. I thought some of the people that they interviewed were really good. I thought some of the people that they interviewed trying to make Aaron Hernandez out to be a victim, which I don't think is really the right way to approach it. I realize that everybody has challenges in life, and we all have our crosses to bear, so to speak. Sorry for the religious analogy if you're not into that, but you know, I have a hard time excusing Aaron Hernandez's behavior and the things that he did and the people that he hung out with, and just overall, it was just it was a really good documentary. I think it was fair. I think at the end it was a little weird, depending on your perspective. I talked to some people who were also pretty knowledgeable about the subject matter beforehand. And they felt like at the end, they made Aaron Hernandez out to be a little bit more of a victim than this perpetrator of bad crimes. I didn't really feel that way. I felt like it was just trying to explain why it happened, like the CTE thing, the the allegations that he might have had a secret life that was related to some things sexually that he wasn't proud of making public. Regardless of all that, while those could be contributing factors, I still think that he's, what he did is inexcusable. I don't care what you have going on. Taking someone else's life is just immoral in every way, shape, and form. And I think every single human being that doesn't have some kind of a mental problem can agree with that standpoint. So, but it was really good. I really enjoyed it. It went by so quick. Like me and my wife were glued to the TV. She didn't know much about Aaron Hernandez before that, so I think it was good for her, And then finally, my final point would be, I think that it's really damaging to the NFL. I think it's very scary that this documentary comes out and it was so popular on the mainstream, and it's talking about this guy who was in his 20s. And, due to some circumstances, he ends up dying. They do get the brain and they find out he had CTE. That's really scary. And I think it's going to make a lot of young players think twice about, do I want to continue my career? We've seen Luke Kuechly retire pretty early. There was a fella on the 49ers who actually did an interview for the documentary. Andy could tell you who he was. I forget his name. He was a linebacker. He retired after 1 year.
Chris Borland.
That's the guy. I knew you would know him because you're a 49ers fan. He played 1 year and then he retired. He said, I don't want to be part of this. Like, it's scary to me. And I get that. And I think a lot of young, I guess my thing is this. I don't know if I would want my kid to play football. I'm scared to have my kid play football. It's a scary thing. The CTE thing, it's horrifying. So, but thanks for the question, Daniel. I would tell you, I don't know if you watched it yet, but even if you're not a football fan, I think it's entertaining and it brings light to a lot of social issues that I think as a country we need to deal with. So, moving on now to entertainment. Dying Light 2 has been delayed indefinitely. Andy, how do you feel about that?
It's bad news. Probably going to be a bad game if it ever comes out.
You think so?
Typically, getting delayed indefinitely is not great news. I mean, I guess play devil's advocate. It's a next gen game. Definitely, it's looking like it's not going to come out this generation.
So, when I read the article on Polygon, that's where I was able to find a good source. They're usually pretty reputable. It says here that they had always planned on it being kind of a cross-platform game. So, and when I say cross-platform, I mean cross-generational.
Cross-generation.
I should say that. That's a better term. So, theoretically, this would be on Xbox One, and then it would be on Xbox Project X, or whatever the hell they're actually going to call it.
It's called Xbox. I'm not kidding. It's just called Xbox.
That's fine. I mean, I know I'm buying it. I don't care what the name is.
It's Xbox Series X, but the Series X portion is the model of the Xbox.
Yeah.
The console generation is just called Xbox.
Well, that's fine. I'm okay with them branding it that way. It doesn't matter. I'm going to buy it anyway. I'm already sold. I'm not the person who cares about branding because I'm already sold on it. But I don't know, dude. I do think it's bad news. I would say, there's two games that come to mind that I remember being delayed indefinitely, and then when they finally hit, through no fault of their own, in a way, oh god, I'm gonna have some people pissed off at me. That's actually a good second one or third one. So here's the thing: when you delay a game, I'm with the people who say I'm okay with delays as long as I get a good game. Totally agree with that. That's the right way to look at it. But nobody wants a rushed piece of crap. Nobody wants that. So, totally agree with that. But I've noticed now when games get delayed, the longer the delay, there's some people out there where they keep raising their expectations, and sometimes that gets to a point where it's unfair. So like I'll never forget Duke Nukem Forever was in development literally forever. That was the joke, is that it was called Duke Nukem Forever because it was always in development. And when it finally came out, people were expecting something groundbreaking when in reality it's a Duke Nukem game. I mean, I don't know if anybody listening has played any of the old Duke Nukem games. Yeah, they were first-person shooters. At first, they were side-scrolling shooters on the PC, but they were never AAA game titles. They were never meant to be. They're not Game of the Year candidates or anything like that. So, when Duke Nukem Forever comes out and it's not a Game of the Year candidate, people are just, all over it. Too Human would be the other one that I would mention. That was a game that was in development since PS1. It ended up actually coming out on the Xbox 360. It was in development for a very long time, and lots of drama surrounding its development and its release afterwards, and the usage of the Unreal Engine and all that. And people had these very unrealistic expectations of what Two Humans should be, and when it wasn't that, people just, they pounced all over it, and it really ruined that whole development studio. I don't believe that they ever published another game. It was originally supposed to be a trilogy. It never became a trilogy. So, when I would tell people Dying Light 1 was a great game.
I pulled up a game that had a long cycle that was good to play Devil's Advocate. L.A. Noire took 7 years to make.
There you go. I mean, sometimes, there are people that can kind of buck that trend, but I would tell people with Dying Light 2, I think it'll eventually come out. I do think it'll eventually be a good game, but I would warn people, don't go raising your expectations to unrealistic standards, because it's still going to be, it's still going to be a realistic game. Like, it's not going to...
The only concerning thing is it's delayed indefinitely. It's not delayed to X day.
It's a little concerning.
We don't know when we're going to finish with the game.
You kind of wonder, if they're going to be able to sustain the budget for as long as they're going to need. Because a lot of times that's...
You think it's going to be like a scale-bound?
I don't know about that. That's a totally different scenario. Because Dying Light 1 was a great proof of concept, and it is still a good game. I mean, people are looking forward to Dying Light 2 for a reason. I think it'll eventually come out. I think it'll eventually be good, but I would just warn people, don't make this Kingdom Hearts 3. Don't make it where you have this unrealistic expectation of what it's going to be because it's been in development for so long. There's a good chance that it's been in development for so long so they could give you a game that actually works. Not necessarily something that's fan service, but I don't know. I'm rooting for them, though. We need more games like Dying Light that think a little bit outside the box and are something different than the same cookie cutter remasters that we just keep getting over and over again. Anyway, moving on to another topic here that I want to talk about, video game related, and that's the Nintendo Switch sales passing 52 million officially. So I just wanted to ask Andy, how do you feel about Nintendo's rebound from the Wii U? Do you think they nailed it? Can you think of a better scenario for a hardware company?
One thing you don't have on the topics list is today they passed the SNES in sales, which is arguably the greatest console ever made.
It's a pretty big milestone for them. It actually has them passing the Xbox One sales, which is a current console, and I thought that was an impressive feat as well.
It's on pace to pass PS4, I'm pretty sure, too.
I think it will. With the Switch Lite, I think it will. I mean, people are... I've bought 3.
I said it...
I bought 2 Switch Lites, one for me, one for my wife, and I have one at home.
I said it, I don't know which episode. I was like, yeah, the Switch is the best console because it's the only console that makes me want to play games.
I'll be honest, man. I can't think of a single scenario. I'm sure maybe somebody who's listening could put it in the comments or send us an email or something. But I can't think of a company that had a bad console come out. Like, let's just be real. The Wii U was bad. It didn't work. It was probably about 3 years too early with some of the concepts that it had. It had some innovation in it, no doubt. I loved my Wii U. But even that being said, the software library was rubbish. No third-party support whatsoever, really, you know. And, you know, people really spoke with their wallet, you know. I mean, 52 million actually quadruples the Wii U sales, which were right at 13 million lifetime. Within the first year, the Switch passed the Wii U. And I just thought it was interesting because I knew several people personally who would tell me they were not going to buy a Switch because the Wii U was enough. And I always thought that was interesting because it isn't. Like, this is proof the consumers have spoken, but I just can't think of a hardware company that had a bad round and then came back. Maybe Sega with the Dreamcast, but the Dreamcast but it was not
the
financially...
Sega CD, the Sega 32X, and the Dreamcast.
Well, the Saturn was the next successor to the Genesis and all of its add-ons, and it was a colossal failure for a lot of the reasons that the Wii U was a failure. One, it was expensive for what it was. Two, it was underpowered, which the Wii U was underpowered compared to its competition. And three, the software library on the Sega Saturn was pretty rough. We're going through the same thing with the Wii U. And Sega rebounded with the Dreamcast, which, by the way, the Dreamcast is one of my favorite consoles of all time. But even that being said, the damage had been done. Consumers had lost all trust in Sega, and it wasn't financially successful in a mainstream way. So that would be the closest comparison. But Nintendo's really turned it around, and I just love it because I remember when the Wii U was kind of tanking, and the Switch hadn't been announced yet. It was just kind of a, you know, glimmer in everybody's eye. We had heard rumors about it, but nobody knew anything solid. And I remember people on Twitter talking about Nintendo going out of business because these people, they get on Twitter and they think they're business experts, when in reality, you just have to take one.
Xbox was going to buy Switch. Or Nintendo.
Yeah, believe it or not, Microsoft did make an offer to Nintendo at one point to buy Nintendo, and they got laughed out of the room. Like, it's a real thing that happened. Look it up. But, you know, Nintendo has, if you look at just look at one quarterly report, they have enough cash on hand to operate for years without making a profit. So, like, don't listen to the alarmists on Twitter that know nothing about business. Like, do your research. Look at a quarterly report. They're a publicly traded company. My God. Anyway, good news for Nintendo. Good news for gaming in general. And I hope, you know, whatever the successor to the Switch is, I hope it's just as successful, because competition's a good thing. We can't have Sony owning everything. Moving on to DCD Film Club this week. We covered a pick from Jared Spoon Sandwich at Spoon Sandwich on Twitter. And it's a movie that I'd never even heard of. It's called The Art of Self-Defense from 2019. Stars Jesse Eisenberg and some other people who I've already forgotten their names at this point. Andy, have you ever seen this one before? I never even heard of it.
If you watched last episode, I was like, I've heard of it.
Oh, really?
It was on my 2019 watch list. Never watched it.
Yeah, it's... I don't know much about, like, how it was even released. Was this something that was released into, like, theaters, or?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. It's a movie.
Completely missed it. I don't think I've ever seen, like, an ad for it or anything like that.
It did $2.4 million at the box office.
Oh, so it must have been like a limited release.
That's what I just said like 3 cents ago.
Oh, okay. Well, my bad. So, Andy, how did you feel about The Art of Self-Defense?
It was all right, I guess. Jesse Eisenberg plays Jesse Eisenberg, and he does it well because he's played that role countless amount of times. Um, I it was shot pretty good, and like the props were pretty good, and how like the bland they made him. Like he went to the store, he bought brown bag dog food. It just says dog food on it.
Yeah.
And then, other than that, I don't know. The story is kind of predictable. Kind of knew where the story was going, and that kind of hurts the movie because I felt like where the movie was going at all points.
Okay.
Mostly, I knew where it was going. Yeah, I don't know. It's just an okay movie.
Okay. Well, I guess I have some similar thoughts, but like most DCD Film Clubs, we probably disagree on this one. But so, number one, the story itself, it was pretty predictable. I don't know why. Spoiler alert. If you want, pause or click on the next timestamp. I'm sorry, but like almost immediately, I'm like, I bet the people at this dojo are the ones in the motorcycle helmets. Like,
yep.
I just kind of felt that was predictable. And I also thought it was really predictable, like maybe intentionally, when like these little things started happening to Casey, Jesse Eisenberg's character. These little things start happening. They're just like too much of a coincidence to not make it to where these people at this dojo are the ones behind it all, so to speak, and kind of forcing him and guiding him down this path. But that predictability being said, that would be my one major negative about this one. I think Eisenberg's performance is a good one. I understand what you're saying. It's like the same character he always plays. Yeah, that's a fair.
I mean, it's an exaggerated version.
Yeah, it's a fair critique. Like, he kind of always plays the same type of character. There's a lot of guys like that, out there in Hollywood that they always kind of play the same character, like DJ Qualls and
Michael Cera.
Yeah, like they're always, even, I love him, but Seth Rogen. Like, Seth Rogen always plays like the same type of character.
I mean, he's a comedy. I mean, you can argue all comedy guys.
To a point. I think some people have more diversity. Some people have like more range, if you will. Like, we've talked about Adam Sandler and Will Ferrell on this show, and DC Film Clubs in the past with Punch Drunk Love and Stranger Than Fiction. These are guys that can actually do serious film. And I think like some comedy guys can't. But nevertheless, overall, I thought it was a good performance from Jesse Eisenberg. The supporting cast, I wasn't familiar with any of them, but I thought they did well too. And it was shot pretty cool. I like some of the shots, like you mentioned the grocery store shot where he gets the dog food. Some of the action scenes were really good. I really like how they filmed the fighting, like the karate fights and all that. I thought that was really well done and done in a unique way that, I wasn't expecting from something that looked like a lower budget movie. But I think really the worth of this movie comes from its thematic approach and like kind of the message it tries to send about how toxic masculinity can really be toxic, and this is probably an exaggerated, hyperbolic view on toxic masculinity. It's not a realistic story, okay? So it is based in hyperbole, but it's like this clash, right? So Jesse Eisenberg's character, Casey, starts off as this very soft-spoken, malleable pushover of a man, and he doesn't want to be that. right? He hates being that because it leads to bad things for him. But at the same time, does he want to be like the sensei, who is the extreme opposite, so toxic with his masculinity, like speaks down to women, doesn't respect women, does very violent things, random violent things to random people who are innocent. Like, thematically, I think it almost lands. Like, it doesn't quite land because of the hyperbole, and it kind of seems a little bit too much of an extreme thing. But I think the message it's trying to send is, like, you have to find a middle ground, right? You have to find something like the female at the dojo where she's like, okay, there's a line, right? It's okay to be aggressive. It's okay to go after what you want. It's okay to not hold back and stand up for yourself. But there is a line that, like, maybe we don't want to cross that line. And like I said, the point, it almost lands, but it doesn't quite land. I feel like they could have done it a little bit better from a writing standpoint, approaching that theme. But overall, I think it does have a good message, and it was entertaining. I don't really remember much of the score. And like I said, the cinematography was good. The acting performances were good. But I don't know. I don't think this is something for mainstream consumption. I don't think mainstream audiences would really enjoy this. I can see my wife hating this. But I think only the thematic approach to masculinity, it's the only thing that saves it, in my mind. But it was interesting, so I appreciate Jared picking it. I never would have watched this otherwise, because I'm not a Jesse Eisenberg fan at all. So, he's not really someone that I follow in Hollywood. But it does have a good message, and the acting performances are good.
Now they can see me.
It was filmed pretty well. Felt like something that went direct to a streaming service. That's why I thought originally that it wasn't something that hit theaters, but apparently it did. So shame on me for not doing my research. I would tell people, maybe check it out if you have an hour and 45 minutes to burn. I don't know. This is one of the few film club selections where I'm very middle of the road about it. I don't love it. I don't hate it.
6 out of 10. Okay movie.
Wow, this is like the only time we ever agree. I had this at a 6 out of 10. It's good. It's worth watching once, I think. And if you're into that kind of a theme, talking about toxic masculinity, which is still a problem today, there you go. It's a good pick. So thanks, Jared, for the pick. We appreciate it, man. And next week, it's my pick. And my wife still hasn't texted me back, so I guess she's going to have to make the next pick for me. But my pick this week, because I've been thinking a lot about baseball season already, and I know it's quite a ways off, but I've been thinking about baseball a lot, looking forward to it coming back. It's Bowl Durham, which I think is the greatest baseball movie of all time, made in 1988, starring Kevin Costner, Susan Sarandon, Tim Robbins, directed by Ron Shelton. And I'm interested to hear Andy just take a big steamy dump all over it next week. So
you can find it on Hulu with subscription, or YouTube,
really?
Google Play, Prime for $2.99, iTunes and Vudu for $3.99, or you can check out the Criterion Collection version.
Ooh,
there is a Criterion version of Bull Durham.
I didn't know that. I might actually have to pick that up after we finish recording that. We're recording this, rather, because that might be something nice to put on the shelf. Cool. So speaking of baseball and Bull Durham for next week, we want to talk about baseball now. The National League is in talks to bring the DH position to the National League in 2021. Boy, I know we're going to disagree on this one. Andy, how do you feel about this?
I'm all for it.
Oh, jeez.
Makes the game more interesting.
Yeah.
I get tradition or whatever, but baseball's a dying sport.
No, it's not. It's not a dying sport.
It is. It's a dying sport.
I hate when people say that because I just don't think it is.
DH makes the league more interesting. Pitchers can't hit at all. And I don't know, makes the game more interesting. Like, usually a typical in game, a pitcher comes up, unless it's like Bumgarner, Jake Arrieta, you're like, okay, easy out, turn this off.
Okay.
But bringing a DH position, you know, a guy that's great at hitting, makes the game more interesting.
So I get that argument, and it's a well-founded argument, and I'm not going to disagree with any of the points you made because they're all good points. My thing is this, and I understand that somebody who's listening to this is going to say, well, in the 60s, they lowered the mound from 15 inches to 10 inches because pitchers were getting too dominant, and they changed the strike zone up in the 60s. And, you know, there's the dead ball era, and there's the live ball era, and there's, you know, all these rule changes, replay, and you name it. So many rule changes throughout the years that have happened. And my thing is this. I can't think of one that would be this much of a bucking of tradition, and I don't like it. I don't like the DH at all. I don't think it should be in the American League. I don't think it should be in the National League. I think pitchers should have to hit. And I think that it's something that teams have to strategize for. I think pitchers learning how to sacrifice bunt is something that should be considered part of pitching. To a lesser extent, I think some of them should learn to actually hit. I'm a big person on tradition. When I watch American League games, I don't like seeing the DH. I think it's a cop-out. But I realize it's been in the American League for, I believe now, almost, it could be even more than that, 40 years. And I realize that the NL has looked at it previously, most notably in 1979, I believe they looked at it, and they were going to put it in the 82 season, but they ended up not doing it. They lost by 1 vote. But I like the tradition of there being no DH in the NL, and I would keep it that way just for tradition. But that being said, the counter argument that I would also put out there, in addition to Andy's argument in favor of it, is it would create more jobs in the MLB. Like, you would have teams basically making one more roster spot for a guy that could be a DH. You know, whereas now in the NL, nobody signs a guy to be a DH. Even when they go to interleague play, they just put a bench player up there. You know, so I think it would be good for baseball players. I think it would allow a lot of guys to maybe prolong their careers or have a bigger career than they ever would have had otherwise. David Ortiz would be a good example. Alex Rodriguez, I think his career was extended by a few years by switching primarily to a DH role. I think it would also be good for player rest and things like that. And they play 162 games, so it would be good for player rest. And I feel like now I'm making a really compelling argument for DH, which I didn't want to make on this show, but I just like the tradition of it. So I realize it's unpopular and I sound like an old crotchety guy.
Of our guest last week, Draftnik Mark, supporting my opinion, go to Draftnik Mark's YouTube channel.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the other thing too is I think younger people, and Draftnik Mark he's a younger fella. You know, I think they're more in favor of maybe bucking tradition to have a more exciting game. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I really don't. Because the younger viewer, like yourself, like Mark, like the 12-year-old kid who doesn't have any interest in baseball right now, this might be a way to kind of increase excitement, increase scoring, and therefore make the game maybe a little bit more attractive to younger viewers.
I mean, video games evolve. We had 2D top down. Now we have 3D first, movies evolve. But why can't baseball evolve without people getting their panties in a bunch?
I'm not going to stop watching because of it. I like the tradition of it. Should we throw out every park being slightly different? Should all parks be standard? Should we do that?
No.
Because let's get rid of the tradition of that, because I've already seen that argument from people who want to ditch the DH. They want to throw everything out. Let's make it all standard and boring like football. It's stupid.
You can't do that for a simple point that you'd have to have 30 teams build all new stadiums, or 29 teams technically. You'd be like, this stadium's a perfect stadium. Everyone has to match this stadium.
It's ridiculous.
Which will never happen.
It's ridiculous. Leave baseball the way it is. If you're gonna make an improvement,
it has to evolve.
Make sure it's for whatever. I disagree.
You gotta let the kids have fun, bat flips, and celebrate.
And disrespectful.
Yeah, and then the pitchers get to disrespect the hitters all the time, but no one gets.
That's
mad.
Also disrespectful.
But no one ever talks about that.
I talk about it all the time. I hate when pitchers stare down hitters. Or
when a pitcher strikes them out and they're like, "Oh yeah," but no one cares. A pitcher can't a hitter can't bat flip whenever they hit a home run, but if a pitcher strikes out a guy, they're like, "Yeah, I did it."
Some of the bat flips are ridiculous, though. Some of these bat flips are ridiculous. I'm sorry. I don't know, man. I guess we have very different opinions on baseball and where it should be headed.
I don't know.
But
your point for the league changing to standard stuff, I feel like that's how it is. Nothing's ever changed in baseball in a billion years.
Yeah.
People are just trying to make it more fun to watch.
Why don't we juice all the baseballs too?
I did it last year.
Well, you know what? Let's do aluminum bats. Let's just throw out the wooden bat. That'd create more scoring. There has to come. You have to draw a line somewhere, man. You have to draw a line somewhere. Otherwise, it's not even going to be the same sport anymore. It is a big deal.
It's still the same sport with DHs.
It is a big deal. Make the pitchers hit. Make them hit.
Why?
It's strategy, man. It's strategy.
Is it more strategy for trying to strike out a guy who can actually hit or a guy that can't hit? A defensive strategy.
But you have to build your lineup around. Okay, so Joe Madden, famously would bat his pitchers eighth because it was a good strategic move. There were sabermetrics behind that. I enjoy that level of strategy to baseball because that's what baseball is. It's a strategic game.
But you still have a weak hitter in the lineup.
Everybody just wants to make it Dinger City, man. If you want that, go play the bigs on Xbox. You still have a weak spot in position, though. I'm beyond annoyed right now. Everybody just wants to throw everything out just to make it nothing but dingers. And that's just not, there's beauty in a nice double that hits the gap or something, and everybody just wants to offense. There's plenty of offense in the league right now. Offense was massively up last year. I don't know. Agree to disagree, I guess. Another topic that we're going to disagree on, I'm sure of it, is this next one. Eli Manning, is he a Hall of Famer? Andy, how do you feel about Eli Manning as a potential Hall of Famer?
Yep, he's a Hall of Famer.
Wow. Okay, so we actually agree on that one. Yeah, I can't say enough about Eli. He did it in the New York market. I think that counts for something. I know some people would disagree with me on that, but you go try to play in the New York market. I know they play in New Jersey, but it's the New York Giants. It's not the New Jersey Giants. Dealing with the New York media his entire career. He only missed one start due to injury. No, he didn't miss one start due to injury. He got benched for Geno Smith 1 week. He never missed a start due to injury. I think that's a real testament to his durability and the willingness to play through injuries. Yeah, he threw a lot of picks, but he won 2 Super Bowls, beat one of the best teams of all time in the 16-0 Patriots. Threw for a buttload of yards, a lot of touchdowns, a lot of good years.
He was never a top 5 guy in the league.
Never a top 5 guy in the league. But if you're going to put Joe Namath in the Hall of Fame.
My point is the Manning name. You had to put him in the Hall of Fame.
If his name was Eli Smith, he would still be going in the Hall of Fame.
I don't think so.
Those accomplishments, dude. That many years as a starter with one team.
It's not like it's just because he's Manning. It's just because he was a good player for several years, and he has the Manning name. That gives him a little push.
I don't know.
If he didn't have the Manning name, I think it'd be more of a toss-up with more likely he doesn't make it in.
I saw somebody on Twitter saying if you're going to put Eli Manning in, you have to put Joe Flacco in. And that's a joke. Look at their stats side by side, and you'll see they are not comparable players. They're just not. Did Joe Flacco have some good years? Absolutely. But is he a Hall of Famer? Not even close. And right now, there's only, if I'm looking at this correctly, there's only 12 quarterbacks who have won multiple Super Bowls. And as I look at that list, every single guy...
That's more than I would have thought.
It's more than I would have thought too. But I think every single guy on this list, I know this for a fact, is either in the Hall of Fame or will be one day. You don't win 2 Super Bowls as a starting quarterback by accident. Okay? Trent Dilfer winning 1, stumbling into 1 with the Baltimore Ravens. Okay.
Jim McMahon.
Jim McMahon was a lot better than people give him credit for, but he's definitely not a Hall of Famer. I think overall, he is. You look at the stats. I know people point at the interceptions. I know people point at the completion percentage. And heck, some people even point at his overall record as a quarterback. But Dan Marino 1-0. Put him in. I don't know. I think it's the fact that anybody would debate it, I guess, is just incredulous to me. Moving on to another guy that I know people are going to debate massively when he's up for the Hall of Fame. Phillip Rivers. This one's a little shocking to me. I can't wait to get Andy's take on what he thinks the Chargers are doing, because I have no clue. The Chargers have reportedly moved on completely from Phillip Rivers. He's hitting free agency, and the Chargers have no interest in re-signing him, according to sources. Andy, what's up with that? What?
They got the 6th overall pick. I think they're shooting for Tua.
You think so?
I think that they've realized that 6, 7, 8 years in a row, everybody's Chargers are good. They're going to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They always disappoint. Every year. They disappoint. They disappoint. They disappoint. They got to change something. And they're not going to move on from Keenan Allen. What's the most obvious thing they can move on from? Their aging old quarterback that's not going to get any younger.
True.
So they had the 6th overall pick. They could potentially move up even further, pick up a guy like Tua. I don't think they get Joe Burrow.
No.
Or they can potentially, crazier things have happened. Maybe Dak Prescott. He hasn't resigned yet. Crazier things have happened. Maybe Tom Brady.
It's pretty crazy to think about.
There's just they're
going to LA, this year,
It's just
Well,
let's
to
see,
the new stadium, I should say, in LA this year.
an actual
So
stadium. You mean?
yeah, an actual, not a soccer stadium that's been modified basically to house football games temporarily.
It's just like it's at some point you have to move on from the guy. You can't just be like, I don't know. I can't think of an example in my head, but like just for legacy reasons, you keep like Eli Manning for a while. Like he wasn't great, but we have him here just because it's Eli Manning.
It's actually a really similar standpoint. Like, I don't know, man. I guess my thought on this is I think the league in the NFL is ever evolving. So like 10 years ago, everybody was not bemoaning, not complaining, but they were pointing out that the run game in the NFL was on the decline. Teams weren't running the ball as much. Not as many teams were running the ball as much, if that makes sense. And it became a very pass-happy league. Like, passing yards were way up. Offense was way up. Scoring was way up. And now I feel like the pendulum has shifted in the other way. You look at the successful teams this year in the playoffs. A lot of them are not teams that were towards the top of the league in passing the football. They were probably towards the middle or the upper half, right? The Chiefs would be the anomaly there when it comes to that.
Yeah.
But the 49ers, they weren't a pass heavy team. They're actually a run heavy team. The Titans, run heavy team. The Ravens, run heavy team. Not saying anything. By the way, before anybody jumps all over me about Lamar Jackson, because everybody's
run because you have a running back.
Oh my God, I'm so like. Speaking of the pendulum going the other way, the Lamar Jackson supporters have become worse than the people that were detractors.
Yeah, I said that when we talked about is he elite quarterback, or I think I even talked about it before. I was always for Lamar Jackson going to the draft, but at this point, people need to calm down.
They won't shut up about it. Everything comes back to, well, you say Lamar Jackson's a running back. No, I'm not. Okay, so right now as a passer, he still has a lot of work to do. Like, I'm sorry, he does. Some of his ball placement is iffy. He relies too heavily on tight ends. He doesn't pass to the outside as much as I think they would like him to do. But he made huge steps from year 1 to year 2. Will he make similar steps from year 2 to year 3? Probably. Pat Mahomes did. So no reason he can't do the same. But the Ravens were a run-heavy team, and it seems like the best passing offense in the NFL this year was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look where it got them. So if we're looking at yards alone, by the way. So overall, I think we're shifting towards more mobile quarterbacks, guys who can run a read option, even if it's not like really fast, right? Ryan Tannehill can run a read option. He did. Pat Mahomes. I think mobile quarterbacks are kind of becoming the thing right now. It might shift back one day. I don't know. But Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers just felt like men out of time. Just guys in the wrong generation the last couple of years. And it's the other part of the problem is good O-lines are getting harder and harder to find. It's getting really hard to find good O-lines because these pass rushes are unbelievable. So you need that guy who can kind of extend plays, and Phillip Rivers just can't do that. I did see a rumor that Phillip Rivers might come to Tampa Bay, and that scares me.
I honestly don't think he's going to go anywhere because if a team signs him, they're going to sign him to be a backup, and I don't think he'll take that deal.
I think he would just retire at this point, honestly. I don't know. Maybe somebody will sign him to be a starter for like a 1-year bridge.
I just don't see it.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know. It's a shame. It's a shame that his career ends that way, but I mean, at the same time, he did have a really long run. I mean, him and Eli got drafted the same year, to put that in perspective. So they got traded for each other. So, there you go. But if he comes to Tampa, I just think it's more of the same. Anyway, moving on to our final topic here. and that is Super Bowl 54. So,
Super Bowl LIV. My friend's girlfriend was like, "What is it called? Super Bowl LIV?"
oh, really? That's amazing. I love that.
He was like, "It's a number. What are you talking about?"
Wow. Okay. Well, that is definitely a treat. So, I don't really have much to say on the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be like a crazy, like, battle of a great offense versus a great defense, but also a team that, with that great defense, also has a great offense. I know the 49ers have to be the favorites going into the game.
Nope.
What?
Chiefs are 1.5-point favorites.
Might lay some money on that because
I have a couple $100 on the 49ers.
I might join you on that because to me it just seems like Pat Mahomes is going to have. Because let's be honest, like, the Chiefs can't really run the ball. They don't run the ball very well. They can't run the ball.
How do you
very
beat
well.
the 49ers? Mobile quarterback running the ball. Things that they don't have.
Yeah, so, well, I feel like Pat Mahomes can definitely get out of the pocket and create
but the
like
49ers
a little
have the
extra
speed
time
to catch up to him.
Yeah. They're going to need a Herculean performance from him and the rest of that passing game. Tyreek Hill and Watkins and Kelsey and all them.
You want some fun statistics?
What's that?
49ers outscore the Chiefs this year.
Yeah, the 49ers offense is nothing to slouch.
But all media is like, oh, Jimmy Garoppolo can't pass. When Jimmy Garoppolo throws for more than 400 yards, 49ers are undefeated.
I just don't understand that rhetoric because Garoppolo, he had one really bad game. I mean, this is like just one really bad game, which I think everybody does, by the way. But aside from that, if you take that one really bad game out of the picture, he's been exceptional passing the football.
Yeah.
And
he throws picks from time to time, but he comes back. He's an elite quarterback after he throws a pick.
His performance after the Emmanuel Sanders trade is even scarier.
Yeah. And also, wide receivers stopped dropping the ball after they got Emmanuel Sanders, which was a huge problem at the start of the year.
Well, maybe he taught him to use Stickum or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
and George Kittle with a torn labrum is an absolute beast.
Yeah, I like Kittle a lot. Kittle really showed me something this year. Like,
I'm fairly confident in the 49ers.
Me too.
And to quote Trent Dilfer, it is just like when the 49ers and the Broncos. Oh, John Elway, great quarterback. 49ers blew them out. 49ers against Dan Marino. Oh, Dan Marino, best quarterback in the league, blew them out.
Well, not really much to say other than that. I think the Chiefs' defense is pretty rubbish. Just saying.
Yep.
They're very inconsistent. Sometimes the Chiefs' defense shows you like those little flashes where you're like, oh man, they have really that potential, but
a one-dimensional team versus a team that's literally can do it all.
Yeah,
run, pass, defend, everything.
And Nick Bosa really, really wants to visit President Trump. I think that's
no one's stopping Nick Bosa.
No one's stopping Nick Bosa. Yeah. By the way, he's had an amazing year, and he's an amazing athlete, and it's going to be scary because he's just going to get better. Nick Bosa is just going to get a little bit better each year.
Knock on wood. He hasn't been injured yet.
I don't think he will.
Going into drafted.
I don't think that's going to be a concern for him like it is for Joey. But anyway, my pick for Super Bowl is I'm going to take the 49ers. I didn't know they were underdogs, but if they were, favorites, I was actually going to take them to cover the spread. But
yeah, they're 1.5, or if you want to bet money line, it's even. So some guy bet $1 million on the 49ers yesterday, so
Good for him. Good for him. I wish I had that level of, well, first, I wish I had that level of wealth, but even if I did, I don't know if I could put $1 million on anything. That'd be a tough one. So,
I mean, I have a bunch of money on them.
Well, I might get with you and I might put a little bit of money on it myself because I can't believe that the 49ers are not favorites or that they're even taking even bets on it. Anyway, that's going to do it for DCD 66. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, want to remind you guys of a few things before we get out of here. T-shirt link always in the description. And if you buy one of those, it gets us $6. So, buy the DCD shirt. Wear it to a job interview. Work for me. It'll work for you. In addition, we have our Patreon. If you go to patreon.com/DCD podcast, you can see all the perks there. But for as little as $1 a month, you get early access to the podcast. You get to send in your suggestion for the Patreon pick for DCD Film Club every third week and all kinds of other great stuff. So check that out. Like I said, it starts as little as $1 a month. I want to thank all our current patrons. Got Dumbest Sphinx in the egg tier, Bobby in the Andy tier, and Jared and Daniel in the gold tier. Thank you guys very much. You guys are literally the reason we're able to do this podcast from a cost perspective. So thank you very much.
And catering costs.
Yeah, I got they had a coupon in the McDonald's app. I got a quarter pounder with cheese the other day for I think $2. Anyway.
No.
Yeah, man, you got to use. Pro tip from your buddy Purple Swordfish here: if you're gonna go to McDonald's, get the mobile app. They got coupons in there, crazy good. Anyway, yeah, and then if you can't do any of those, maybe you're a little short on money. I totally get that. I've been there before. You go to iTunes, you could leave us a review for free. That helps us out, and then you can also subscribe to us on YouTube. And then finally, go to deadchannelduo.com, and that'll give you a link at the very top of the page to everywhere we're located. We're on Spotify, YouTube, Podbean, Stitcher, probably stuff that I actually found out we're on a podcatcher service that I didn't even know about. I Googled DCD for something and I was like, oh, look at that. We're on that.
If you want more at a DCD Film Club, follow us on Letterboxd.
Oh, yeah, we got a link.
Andy Holsey, at Alec Aldridge. I still don't know your name.
It's at Purple Swordfish.
Oh. Yeah. And then also Dead Channel Duo Letterboxd. We have our own Letterboxd.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, that's going to do it for DCD 66. I appreciate you guys listening. Andy, anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
Oh, I forgot to mention. Dang it. They're in talks to make a Under the Skin TV show. That's stupid. Don't do that. Please don't do that.
It's beautiful the way it is. Don't mess with it.
What? I don't know how you make a TV show out of that.
You can't.
Please don't. Please don't. Also, rip Kobe.
Yeah, that was really sad. That was a tough one, man.
Yeah, I cried.
Yeah, at first I thought it was fake. My wife told me, and I was like, it's fake. It's because, people always spoof celebrity deaths. It's happened before, for a while we thought Morgan Freeman was dead one day, that kind of stuff. And I was like, it has to be fake. And then I saw it come out from reputable sources. Just tough, dude. Really tough. So, rest in peace, Kobe. Thanks for the memories. Basketball won't be the same. But that's going to do it for DCD 66. We'll see you next week for 67. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Das vidania.